Hello everyone, and welcome to another royal reading here at Mad World Tarot. A very chilly Saturday late afternoon as I'm doing this reading, and I have the Wandering Star Tarot on the tarot table for this one. There it is. Because believe it or not, and I can hardly believe it, we are looking at Harry and that wretched security case again. And of course it was chucked out of court, the appealing the decision not to grant judicial review. It's all quite complicated legally, and it was chucked out and everyone was delighted except the has-been, and he was going to be liable for huge sums of money and costs. He has now appealed directly to the Court of Appeal, and he found out last month that the Court of Appeal was going to allow him to appeal directly to that court on one ground. But he saved the news for D-Day to make a bit of a splash in terms of PR, as I actually saw when I read on Harry and his feelings during the whole D-Day commemoration events. And the ground of appeal that has been allowed, only one, I think there were 5 that were put forward, but only one has been allowed. According to those that know, I've watched Black Belt Barrister and various other people, it's about process. It's about whether RAVEC, the committee that decides who gets what kind of security, whether RAVEC followed its own written policy. Applied that to Harry. They made a bespoke sort of thing for him when he stopped being a working royal and he pushed off to first Canada and then the United States. And apparently that might be problematic. And so a lot of people are worried that if this appeal is granted and the thing has to go back to RAVEC for reconsideration, they might be compelled to reinstate Harry as a top tier level and get his full security back, get his IPP status back, which means he and Meghan can trot around the world on these 4 royal tours paid for by the poor countries that they decide to go and visit. It also gives them immunity from prosecution, all kinds of interesting consequences. So it obviously is quite important to the Parkles, and particularly the has-been. We're going to do a Celtic cross with the Wandering Star Tarot and see what's going on. We're going to see how the appeal will go, and then whether ultimately Harry is going to get his security back. We're going to ask why this is so important to him. This whole tier thing obviously is quite humiliating for him to be bounced down from top tier to insignificant nobody. Is it about the immunity? Is it about the giant sum of money, the costs? What's really going on? So how will the appeal go, and ultimately final outcome, is he going to get his IPP status back and his security reinstated? And then would there be a sort of revolution like the French Revolution to get rid of the royals? Because I can't imagine that if Harry is granted his security back and his IPP status, people will be very pleased. In the UK, there was one bit of good news for people who believe in fairness and justice, and that was Harry wasn't allowed to jump the queue. He was told his case wasn't important. He was claiming that it was so important and had dragged on for so long, and he and Meghan were off on very important royal tours and had a huge court case coming up in October. He had to jump the queue and be heard within the next 6 weeks. The Court of Appeal said, nah, stand in line, mate. You're not that important. That's the only bit of good news as far as I can tell. And I think that the big long court case that he's referring to is that phone hacking one, the ongoing, the one that everyone else kind of seems to be jumping out of, bailing out of, but not Harry. Oh no. So a bit more shuffling. Sorry about this. Celtic cross coming up. I think one more shuffle. And then we will see what we can see. I thought we were done with this whole thing, but nope. Oh, big hair guy's got to pay for the hairdresser. And the private yacht and everything else. I'm being snarky, and let's remind you, it is just tarot for fun and entertainment. It is all just my opinion. It's speculation. And we just read energy here, of course. And there is a disclaimer in the box below. Please read it, form your own opinions. And let's see what the tarot has to tell us about this ongoing and most annoying saga. We have the Two of Wands in reverse as our underlying energy, which is about plans. Plans not coming to fruition when the card is in reverse. And that would be the plans for the tours overseas. I think they've got Ghana lined up. And there are mutterings about going to Australia as well. They're trying to get in there quickly before the king can make his official visit to Australia. I've heard those rumours going around. It's on my list of things to look at. But so far, Two of Wands in reverse, plans unraveling, not coming to pass as imagined. So they had all of this lined up, but of course if they've got to pay for their security and they don't get immunity, it starts to become problematic. And it really doesn't look very good either. They want the cavalcades, they want the tinted windows, they want the outriders and the lights flashing and going through traffic lights and mowing down pedestrians and stuff like that. And I realized when I said that, that has actually happened, and I was not referencing that at all. That was just unfortunate. Nothing intended there. Situation. And we have the Empress in reverse. This is Mummy Diana. It's eternally the story that you took away Mummy Diana's security, and we all know what happened in Paris. This is where it all comes from. And even though she, of course, decided not to have security for various reasons, unfortunate reasons. Harry, I don't think, can understand any of this. And so we have the Empress in reverse. It's Mummy Diana. And I'm sure that there are whisperings in his ear about this constantly from his darling wife. That's my opinion. Of course, I'm speculating. So the problem that he's facing, Two of Cups, I would say that is the darling wife, that this is something that he feels he needs to protect her. And I'm sure that there's whispering in his ear about that as well. You can't let what happened to Mummy Diana happen to me, your darling wife. And so there we are again. And I tend to forget because I'm not him, and I'm not obsessed with Mummy Diana. But it's burst out of this reading as the central issue, the mother issue, interestingly. So we have a question anyway down here, the root of this obsession. Why this insistence on having security? Is it about money? Is it about paranoia? Is it about the IPP status and immunity from prosecution and things like that? What's really going on? We've got the Six of Wands. This is about ego. And so Mummy Diana has already shown up there at the heart of this reading. But deep down, what's driving this? What's driving this really is his own ego. Six of Wands. The need to be seen to be victorious. He cannot deal with the fact that he keeps losing. And so also this the probability that being demoted from tier 1 to tier 3 in terms of the Ravik policy, their structure is galling, humiliating. Can't have it happen because Prince William, of course, will be tier 1, the King will be tier 1, Camilla will be tier 1, and has been, and herself, the darling wife, down to tier 3, where you kind of make it up as you go along, and only when they show up, and then you really don't get much notice. Anyway, we've seen that in his recent trip to the UK. It was all very low key, and there it is. It's shown up, Six of Wands, the show-off card, the boastful card, the victory is mine card. And the Six of Wands is about processions, interestingly. Normally in Rider-Waite Tarot, you would have somebody showing off on a horse with an adoring crowd watching. He wants that. So what is his focus? What is his goal? And we have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. This is a money problem. He does not want to have to work to earn money. He doesn't want to have to pay the money. I suspect that so far he's clocked up in costs, his own costs and the government's costs, because he's suing the government essentially in this appeal and this whole saga. So Eight of Pentacles in reverse doesn't want to have to stump up the cash himself, come up with the cash himself, have to work to earn the cash to pay other people, because it's the working card, the Ace of Pentacles, the hard work card. Can't do that. But I think money is short as well when you get Pentacles in reverse, especially the high number Pentacles in the tarot. Then you start to suspect that there might be financial pressure. And so this is about money. His real focus is on, I don't see why I should have to pay for this. Plus, also, I can't. That's what's coming through for me with that Eight of Pentacles in reverse. Everyone else must pay for it, the UK taxpayer or possibly the American taxpayer, and we'll have a look at this, or the Ghanaian taxpayer, the Australian taxpayer. It was the Canadian taxpayer until they got wind of what was going on and the parcels got chucked right out. So the past loss, tell us about that, the feelings, the Hanged Man, disempowered. Felt that he was being punished, he was being hung out to dry, he was being singled out for a different kind of treatment. And this is this whole thing with this Ravik policy, that he's claiming that he's being treated differently to everyone else, and that's not how their policy document goes, and that's not what's supposed to be happening. He's been singled out for punishment. He might even suspect that the courts are stacked against him at this point as well, because he's been losing more than he's been winning. And he might have this sense as he sits at home with his Xbox or whatever it is, and rolls whatever he's rolling, that the world is against him, and probably Daddy is phoning judges up and saying, hey, you, that's me speculating and creating a snarky scenario. But the Hanged Man is a self-pity card. Oh, woe is me, poor me. But also feeling powerless and wanting his power and his status back with that Six of Wands. Down there in the subconscious drive kind of area of the Celtic cross. What's coming next? And this is the appeal itself. How's that going to go for Harry? We're reading from Harry's point of view what's going to happen. Oh, it looks like he might get his wish and win King of Wands. So he might win his appeal, in which case it goes back to Ravik and they've got to go through the whole process again. I suspect that with that King of Wands, well, I can't read the King of Wands as a defeat for Harry. It is very much a triumph kind of an energy in the King of Wands. He's going to be very boastful about it, and we're going to read about it all over the place. Very happy. He's going to be, I would say, very happy when this goes, is finally heard. Who knows when it's actually going to be heard, this appeal. But it looks like he's going to succeed there on this very narrow ground, which could trump everything else, if, according to what some people are saying, and it could mean he gets his security back. Let's see how he feels about being told that he isn't worthy of being put to the top of the queue. How did that go down? His sense of himself. There he is, the Hermit. That's him. His major arcana. So again, I'm getting this sense of entitlement. Me, I'm Harry. This is who I am. even though it's showing up as a female figure in here, it's a male figure, and it is his major arcana, his Virgo major arcana. So I just get the sense again that he's very entitled. And I'm not saying Virgos are very entitled, that's generally not Virgo energy, but it's his major arcana that's shown up, as his sense of self is very strong here. And of course, I'm Prince Harry. Why should I have to stand in line and wait for ordinary mortals to have their cases heard when I'm Prince Harry and I've got important royal duties to be doing, even though they're made up duties, and litigation that my lawyers are involved in. So that. It's also the expert card. It's people giving advice, going to people for advice. And so I'm sure that they are whispering in his ear and saying, you're so special, you're so important, you should be at the top of the queue. So yeah, I don't think he can quite adjust to the fact that he isn't that important. Pressure that he's under. It's the Mother Star. It's one of these new major arcana that this tarot deck has to offer us. And it is, they have a yes-no options. And it's about losing faith, and then realizing that all the twists and turns that you have gone through. I'm reading the little book just to make sure that I'm telling you the right thing here. And it's looking back at all the twists and turns in your life and realizing that you are special and this was all for a purpose. And it's basically that you are protected and you are coming back to a place where your setbacks are over, and you can rely on the fact that the Mother Star is guiding you. Okay, so I've sort of paraphrased what's in the little book. But the Mother Star, obviously, this is the pressure that he's under. He's under tremendous pressure. Remember, the Empress is there in reverse as our heart of this reading. He's under tremendous pressure to prove something to Mummy. And it really does come back to that. Yes, we've got the ego at play here, and the sense of grievance and the sense of being treated differently to everyone else and punished and scapegoated and all the rest of it. But this is really all goes back to his mother and her fatal accident in Paris when she didn't have the Met police security, and this feeling that she's looking down and watching and guiding his footsteps. And it's been a difficult journey with all the twists and turns and the losing at various stages, but ultimately he's got something to prove, and if he wins this, it will reinforce this notion that he's being watched and guided by the Mother Star through the conduit, unfortunately, of his wife. And it's quite shocking to me as a reader when things come through this clearly. And you can see the consistency of this story in these cards. That even this weird extra major arcana showed up in this reading. Very, very, very powerful energy that he feels he's got something to prove, but he feels also he's been guided to persevere, even when a normal person, anyone with half a brain, would have said, no, this is a bad idea. That all the cues were coming from the judges to say, don't persevere with this thing, you're going to lose. But I suspect in this energy that ultimately he's not going to lose, because there might be some degree of protection. We'll see, that's my speculation. His hopes and fears, he's worried, the Magician in reverse, here it is. He's worried that he is not going to be able to manifest this, magically win this thing. Ultimately, he is worried that it's not going to happen. I don't think he's that switched off that he thinks this is a dead cert. It looks like the appeal's going to go his way. King of Wands. He is worried, Magician in reverse, that he might not succeed despite the Mother Star card sitting down there. Well, that's the pressure energy. How's it going to go ultimately for him? Is he going to get his tier 1 security back at the expense of the British taxpayer, even though he's not a resident of the UK anymore, even though he's not a working royal anymore, even though goodness knows what he does anymore. How's it going to go? And we have the Five of Swords in reverse. This is not a dead cert, because it is the card of conflict and the card of hollow victories, being defeated, as you can see, conflict, loss, upheaval. It's going to be, if there is a win, there is great potential in that Five of Swords for all of this to end in a heavy defeat for him, with that Five of Swords in reverse. Even if he wins this appeal, which I think he's going to, and it goes back to Ravik with that Five of Swords energy, whether it's upright or in reverse. Even if Ravik somehow has to go back through their processes and do all their deliberations again, and make it open to scrutiny almost, the judge looking over their shoulders as they go through this thing, it looks to me as whatever he gets out of this process is going to be very small compensation for all the effort, the drama, the money, the whatever. I'm not seeing a huge triumph here for him. I'm seeing a potentially very heavy loss for him. And we will look at it again in due course, because of course the appeal will be coming up. But that card made me think, oh no. I think that this card is a more realistic outcome, Five of Swords in reverse, that, oh well, you got so close, but still you aren't in the same category as the top tier people, and so we can't possibly give you that same level of 24/7 security and your IPP status back. That's what's coming through dominant energy there for me with the Five of Swords in reverse. There is just a tiny potential for him to actually get his security back, but in such a way that it actually causes more trouble for him than it's worth. I can't quite figure that one out, unless it is that there is such a public outcry that something else happens, like he's removed from the line of succession. I don't know how that would work. I'm just speculating wildly. I know legally that's a tricky proposition, but it would be a victory, but with a very heavy price to pay. So I don't think it's time for panic just yet and pitchforks out and, manning the barricades. I don't think we're at that point. But this journey is definitely motivated by Mother, and the sense that if he just perseveres, and I'm sure it's being whispered in his ear, then eventually he will be able to manifest this. Even though we have here the Magician in reverse, he's worried that he's not in his right to be worried with that as the outcome card. There it is. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.